What's up, folks? It's Chris Henson. I'm back. What we're going to talk about is intake runner entrances and gasket matching. Right here we got a stock intake runner. And one thing you want to take note of, they'll always have this line going down the middle. That's because this is casted. That's a casting line. Okay, that's generally a casting flaw. It's going to be on every head. This head in particular is really good. Some of them are really bad. These two sections will be far off. It'll be almost a step where we get a raised section and then a lowered section. So then we kind of got this step going all the way through here. That gives us a heck of a challenge when it's time to blend these walls in, and that's a good spot to practice. As a matter of fact, this head was like that, but it's ported, and you can still see the line a little bit, but it's smooth. You know, we got this thing smoothed out, and that's about as smooth as you'll get with a cutting burr. There are a lot of teeth on these cutting burrs. Okay, all these, whatever burr you use, it's going to have some teeth on it. So it's going to leave a little bit of a rough surface, which is actually beautiful for an intake runner. Nice and smooth where you can carry a lot of speed, you can taper, but a little bit of grit so the air gets traction. Air actually needs traction, and people tend to forget about that. Another thing we want to pay attention to is the injector bosses. The injectors plug in here on these little corners of your head. And in casting, it has pushed the iron up into our runner, as you can see. See the big hump there? Let's see here. Those big humps down there. So if we smooth out those humps, the air won't have to jump over them. It's like jumping a ramp. And we'll reduce quite a bit of turbulence there just by knocking down those injector bosses when we open everything up. Once we do that, that's probably good for a good 3 or 4 CFM. Pretty easy. So something to pay attention to. I'm in the process of doing these, but they'll be pretty flat by the time these heads are done. Gasket matching is pretty easy and straightforward. You take a gasket, put it on the head, you take a Sharpie, you trace around the inside, you remove the gasket, you'll have your Sharpie mark, you pour it out until there's no more Sharpie mark and you don't go any further. And that's how you want a gasket match. Now what's tricky about these heads, especially when you got core shift or bad casting, is getting a flat line. This usually just multiplies and gets worse and worse and worse as you push down into the casting, and we'll end up with kind of like this big hill, a couple big hills, and it's just terrible for flow. So we do want to practice a lot, but one tip is to start from deep down inside and get one area flat, then move back a little bit and get it flat. And what I like to do is, when I'm in here, let's say this side is a few thousandths taller, and it's the higher step of these two, and we got a bad casting. Well, I'll make my passes, and I'll make sure I do double on just the high side, so it'll be kind of like a so I'm doing double the work from here to there. And you can feel when you're coming off of that lip. And what that usually does is, after a few passes all the way from the back to the front, you'll end up with something similar to this, which is a great base to start with when you're porting. So yeah, just some things to think about. Next time I'm back, we're going to talk about valve jobs. I haven't done anything in these bowls because I haven't done a valve job yet. We got some Manley severe duty stainless valves coming that I ordered from Intense Racing. Those are some great valves. So we'll get them in here. We'll get a great valve job done, and we'll talk about what the valve job is going to do for the heads. But until next time, deuces. Practice. core shift.